Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Monday Night Football, but you don't care because Chris Jones is back in the fold in Kansas City. We got news late this afternoon. If you weren't with me on that emergency pod, which changed in midstream because we got more information from Adam Schefter as I was wrapping up. So apologies if I misled you at first. We're going to run down all the details for you again tonight. Do not worry. Everything on Chris, what the situation is, what it means, and where he's going. We're going to give you Dan's monitoring Monday Night Football. So if you guys are just here to hang out and see what happens on Monday night, we're here for you for that as well.
Absolutely.
But then we're going to get to all your questions because this is your show. So any super chat gets an answer tonight. Knicks fan has already kicked it off. If you want to get on the show, throw that super chat in there. We'll try to address all the other questions as well, at least all the other topics. And we will get to as much as we possibly can this hour before Monday Night Football gets truly cooking. But before we get there, I got to tell you, it's good to have pals in this business.
It is.
And DraftKings is one of them. They are certainly helping out. And now that football's back in full swing, you can get in on the action too. There's epic games, not just a 21-20 loss, but there's a lot yet to come. So who's got you covered with every single game? It's DraftKings, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NFL. So new customers right now, you can bet $5 on football and you'll get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's huge. Nobody's missing out on the action. Every DraftKings customer can take advantage of the two offers because you can get up to $100 instantly if you just spend one and you're already a customer. New guys get $200. Experienced, we're going to call them users, get $100 in bonus bets right away. So get into the action right now for week 2 of DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app. Super easy. It makes everything super fun and simple to use, and use our code RGR when you sign up. That helps us. It helps you. It helps DraftKings. It's a great way around. $100 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 if you're a new user, or for you experienced ones, you can get $100 doing the same way. And I think that's really the key to getting yourself in the action, because right now, you can do this only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code RGR, because that crown is yours. You just got to go get it. If you have a gambling problem, check out 1-800-GAMBLER and www.1800gambler.net. That's the website for it. New York City, you can call 1-877-8-HOPENY or text it to that same HOPENY. That's 467-369 in Connecticut. Help is available for at 888-789-7777. Or visit cccpg.org. That's a tough one to say. People play responsibly, please. On behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 age plus, varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. See the sportsbook at draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility. Terms, eligibility, responsible gaming resources. It's all there. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance, so check it out. The eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply, but DraftKings is helping us. Use that code RGR. They're going to help you out too. So now that business is done, I do want to say how excited I am because I feel better. I was really happy overall upon rewatch with what the defense did without Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And now the King is back. Is it a surprise that this got done on a Monday afternoon to you?
I'm not like super surprised. I really felt if it was going to get done, it was going to get done after week 1. And that just kind of felt, at least to my expectation, how they were going. And hearing earlier today, Andy Reid say that they had conversations going again after there was no communication up till game time was like, oh, okay. They got together before the game. They said, we're not really close. They got together after the game. And to me, felt like they caved because there's no extension. They left $70 million guaranteed on the table and reworked this year. That's a little bit interesting. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all of that stuff, but there's a big bag that was kind of left on the table in this whole negotiating scenario.
By they, you mean Chris and the Katz brothers, correct?
Oh, I mean the Katz brothers exclusively.
Okay. Oh, exclusively. Okay, well, I'll take that.
I'm willing to put it on them.
Okay, fair enough. And I happen to agree with you. For those that think somehow that Chris Jones or the Kansas City Chiefs caved to Chris Jones, there's only one thing that could make that true. And we don't know what it is yet, because if they gave him a clause in this rework where they cannot tag him, that would be a victory for Chris Jones, because in the end, he is free agency free and clear with nothing.
Yeah.
I very highly doubt that happened, but I'm not in the room. I don't have any sources inside the room because it's about 3 people with half a finger up. they were involved. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to have to find out. But in terms of dollars and cents, Chris wanted 4 years. He wanted $128 million. Got none of that. Ended up getting less than you were going to get because they had to get cap relief. So his base salary has to be less than he was going to get under his current contract. And now he has incentives that he has to go earn. Well, how could he earn some incentives? And honestly, let me put this up because I find this language really impressive. This is from Nate Taylor. Got all the details from Matt Derrick this afternoon. But Nate had one thing that I don't think anyone else really caught on to, and that is that the incentives he wants to earn are large, would equate to a large raise that he wanted, meaning somehow to get him back to 30 million. It was his goal, right? If you had to drop him down to 10-ish, which is my guess, in order to get enough operating space to sign whatever free agents, deal with injuries, do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That means that he has to outperform last year, meaning 16 sacks plus. And in my view, if he's talking about getting an additional 10 in a couple of chunks and turns $10 million bonuses or something that equates to that, my guess is those terms are, hey, you need to get 20 sacks or you need to get 5 sacks in the playoffs or something like that. It doesn't have to just be sacks. I'm just using that as an example. I'm sure there's some others. My point is they're going to be difficult to achieve and they're going to be high dollar payouts if they do. And I think that's another thing that whether the Chiefs end up having to pay it out or not, they have a overly motivated Chris Jones right now this season in this Super Bowl run. I'm ecstatic.
They had to. There's no way that they could have gotten this done if it didn't give them cap relief now. This would not have happened if that was not on the table because they had no money. They had nothing to do. There's nothing they could have done. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to turn out. But the fact that he's now here without an extension but a reworked contract, it's going to be playing time incentives. Like last year, he played the most snaps of his career. That's going to happen again this year, guys. And guess what? I would bet that his run defense is also going to have to play as much as it did last year. That's going to be something else. Maybe tackles for losses, total tackles, things like that to get that up there because otherwise he's not getting up there in that $30 million a year. The only way he's going to be able to do it, like you said, is having that insane season. So we're talking about possible he wants to be Defensive Player of the Year. Well, guess what? You have the chance to do that and earn the money that you wanted this year after all.
And he's got a lot to make up for, I got to tell you. Sean, thank you for reminding me. If you guys would like sub, hit that bell right now. If you're not one of us, we would appreciate you becoming one of us here at Rogue Nation. That means you just become a subscriber and maybe even a member to the channel. Members, you're going to get my notes. I have not found a technological way to get that into the Discord yet, but we're going to figure that out. Me and FLTV, I think. If not, you guys are going to have them as well, because I know you had asked for that. But I wanted to put this up as well because this was key in a couple of ways. The initial report from Adam Schefter was like, $1 million plus in fines. There was the game check and there was the bonus, right? Well, Chris Clark and I worked it out and went through the accounting of it, and it's well over $5.5 million. Ari Meyerov has it here at 3.6. We actually came out at 3.78 when we did all the math. So somewhere in there is over $3.5 million that Chris Jones is out, that he has to go back and earn just to break even, let alone hit that 30 number that he was looking for. So I think that's truly significant. And the tag is going to be what brings down, I think, the likelihood of this being just a complete wash for the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you go down here, I think the other thing that I want to point out is, in Chris's opinion, he got it all back, which means he's very confident in hitting those particular incentives and making his money back. He seems very happy in that.
This is a fantastic gift. That's just, can we appreciate this? This is fantastic.
I think Ari posted that. I don't know where he found it, but he got it done. That's pretty impressive. And
it's labeled for Prime. So they had to do this for like Thursday Night Football last year.
I'm glad you're checking the labels because I missed that. Evidently, I'm missing all kinds of details on my screen today, folks. That's where I'm at. But as it stands right now, good deal for the Chiefs. Chris gets back on the field to prove his point. If he really feels that he is the greatest in the league right now, he has his opportunity to prove it. And I think in this situation, after how outdrawn it got, I think that's really all he could ask for.
Yeah, this is it. Like you're going to have your chance now. It's unfortunate that they were unable to get an extension done with him, and that's going to be something that is revisited after the season's over. But now focus can beyond the season and know more about the contract for right now until next offseason when this all comes back up, because it's just, that's just the way it is. Fantastic.
Well, that's where we're at with Chris Jones. More details will come. We'll know about the tag probably tomorrow. I'll probably do a break-in for you.
Just
have content
one question. They still can work on the contract, correct? Like this is just
this doesn't end it.
This doesn't end like the negotiations for the future. This is just that he was set on getting paid this season. We kind of worked that out, that he wanted a raise from $19.5 million this year. And that was what was holding up the extension. So they got that done out of the way. That doesn't necessarily mean that they won't come to an agreement for maybe 3 years or something later in the year. That's just kind of where I'm at, right?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility.
It would be weird.
It would be a little strange, only because with so much animosity, it seems like. But maybe they had a couple bears and everything's cool. I don't know. But it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. You bring up a great point.
I guess I'm just suggesting that maybe the agents that are no longer will be a little bit.
And you guys heard me say that a couple of weeks ago. Everybody called me crazy. If I were Chris, I'd be like, you just got your butts kicked. I'd like some new reps, please.
That, and they basically turned down a $70 million guaranteed contract. That $70 million he may never get back. He may never. Like, you have to think about the NFL in these situations. If he doesn't play like the elite player he played like last year, one, he's not going to make the incentives, and he's not getting $30+ million a year for an extension. It's not happening.
You are absolutely right. It's a tough one. Oh, all right. We are going to be moving on to your questions tonight. Remember, super chat.
Guys.
Get them in if you want to get in there. Knicks fan kicks us off. Thank you, buddy. Glad CJ is back after rewatching the game. From what I could see, the receivers didn't do too bad with separation. I'm not sure if it was just running the wrong routes. Andy addressed this a little bit today, and I know you've taken a look at the film. I was looking on the defensive side. I haven't really watched the offensive yet, so I'm going to take whatever you found in there. But Knicks fan, thank you for pointing that out. And Andy thought, hey, we have things to clean up. Clearly that mesh crosser we ran incorrectly. We have some things. But is it as dire for you today as it is after, the initial view not on 22?
My big thing is that Andy came into the game and said we didn't change our game plan. That should have sent red flags off to everybody, okay? The game plan going into a football game includes Travis Kelce, and they didn't change it, okay? I'm going to talk about something right now that I'm not going to talk about in my video, because my video was going to be a little different. Noah Gray made a lot of this not work, okay? He did not understand a lot of the coverages that were happening, and even when he knew what was going, okay, there's a play sticking out in my head where he's got basically like man zone coverage on an inside leveraged linebacker, okay? So if you're doing an out route with an inside leveraged defender, you want to get right into that out route. You want to cut and you want to go and create separation. Instead, he does a 270-degree pivot. So he's turning around completely, allowing that inside leverage defender to catch up to him and not allow the ball to get there with space. That is just poor route running. It's poor understanding of what you're supposed to do. And a lot of this could have been helped by Travis Kelce knowing, hey, guess what? I've got an inside leverage defender. I'm just going to go ahead and get out to my out route because I have 2 yards of separation here, and I can use that to my advantage. That didn't happen with their tight ends, and it didn't happen with a lot of their younger receivers either.
And that was my fear, is maybe in trying to approximate Travis Kelce, you get locked into the way you were coached to do it when you initially learned the route or whatever the concept was, and you're not like comfortable enough to read on the run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's something that he in particular can grow into. But let's be real. Replacing quote unquote Travis Kelce, like I'd panic.
There was tons of pressure. Everybody, you could tell. There was a lot of pressure. Like last year, Skye Moore was showing nuance in his route running at the top of his route. That was almost gone on Monday, on Thursday. A lot of these guys, I think, felt the pressure of the big stage. And like I tweeted out after the game, they were not ready for it. And that was very apparent. It helped that the Detroit Lions were like, hey, we're going to switch up our defensive game plan. We're going to do that and make you guys have to figure that out, which they didn't do a very good job of that either, which is frustrating enough. But we'll get into all of that and more on Wednesday when I have. I might have to do another member stream just to kind of talk through some of my frustrations.
I'm ready. Let's use it as catharsis for you and entertainment
Yes.
for our members. I appreciate that. We're gonna speed up a little bit through a couple that I think we kind of covered, but I just want to get everybody's questions in. So, Family Man, is it a 2-year because he signed on this year or just the one? It's really just a restructure of this year. It added no years to it, so he's a free agent, and that's why we're so concerned about the tag clause, because that could be the reason that he would agree with that. Otherwise, they got absolutely nothing that they were looking for. They got no guarantee. They got no contract. They got no contract length. They got nothing out of this.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, Brian, who do we bring in next year if Stone Cold is traded? Also explain the different style helmet being used by some with a slightly raised front. I can address the second part. What do you got? Who do you want to see them go after?
So I don't really know if you can go after somebody. I think you're just kind of hoping you can get some trade assets and like some draft capital. There's nobody like I am openly looking at, because the guys that are at the top of the market already have their extensions. They already got them. And that's kind of the problem, is that you don't have somebody who's in an unhappy situation that's not getting extended, that you might be able to get younger and also possibly have that room for upside in one of those players. So it's a tough road to hoe for the Chiefs in that situation if he's not going to be part of the situation next year. But I do think, like you mentioned, that the defense can kind of muddle some of it together if need be. I was a little worried if they had to do it much longer that it wouldn't be very good. But week 1 was a good starting point, and now we don't have to worry about it.
I'll give you guys a couple of options here. Let me share my screen real quick, just because I like going through this exercise myself.
Yeah.
There's one guy in particular here that people call me crazy when he came out, but I loved his film. Chris is obviously going to be the premier guy should he hit the market again, not get tagged or whatever this deal has done. DJ Rader's going to be available up there in age. We know that about Fletcher Cox as well. Sheldon Rankins surprised me. He's actually older than Chris Jones. So I would not put him on the list. So is Nunez Roches. We know we all liked him. Slightly younger, and I think worth a venturous contract is Christian Wilkins. Some people call him a dirty player. Some people call him, a number of different things. But he plays with an edge. And if you want a guy that plays with an edge and can do some of the things that Chris Jones can, he's not the elite pass rusher that Chris is. He's better against the run, but he's still a pretty solid pass rusher. I like him. He apparently is not going to go back to the Dolphins. They broke down their negotiations. So I'd look at him. Shelby Harris is ancient.
Old.
You're not going to get much out of that. I'm trying to look if there's anybody else that really hits here. So our own Derek Nottie. Don't want to be going down that. And you can see just how thin the herd is here, right? So that tells you what you're looking to get done too. The class is available. Will there be some draft defensive tackles? There'll be a couple. I don't think it's a particularly deep class, at least from what I saw over the summer and spring film. I don't know how you feel, Dan.
We'll get into all of that, but that's kind of Chris was a second round pick too. Remember, sometimes defensive tackles are tough to find, especially in this day and age where there's kind of a transition period going on in defenses where they're trying to get those pass rushers, and the NFL is going back to running the ball a little bit more and being more effective at it. So it's an in-between position where you might end up drafting a guy who's a defensive end, and maybe he plays defensive tackle. Chris Jones was a defensive end at Mississippi State, ends up playing defensive tackle for you. So you might just have to find more creative ways to go about finding some replacement level players for that kind of thing.
I like that. And Brian, about the raised front on the helmet, that is a new feature on, I can't remember which manufacturer it is, to try and ward off some CTE. It gives you a little bit more extension from the front contact, which they were worried about the frontal lobe contacts, mostly in the forehead and to the crown of the head. So it just gives you a little bit more leeway to deflect some of that pressure. I don't know what the science is behind it. I haven't done the independent reviews, but from what I understand, they feel pretty optimistic about it. Mike, sup guys? Dan, do you still disagree with me about trading up for Brock Bowers in the draft after what you saw Thursday?
Oh, absolutely. Still disagree with you because it's not about the players that you're putting in. You're trying to develop some of these guys. So it's drafting Brock Bowers, who may never end up being a great tight end. Look at Kyle Pitts. Let's just talk about that for real quick. He's being misused in Atlanta. And I mean, sometimes you get lucky. So yes, I still disagree.
I don't want to talk about Kyle Pitts because he makes me cry. Oh, so much wasted so far. We'll talk about that later. Mike has got another one. Along with the Chiefs, why are teams DBs playing 7 and 10 yards off the line more? Also, is too high safety and rushing 3 while dropping 8 in coverage the way that we can slow down Tyreek? If you want to play cover 4s back there, you can. He has a tendency, because he knows how to attack the gaps in the zones, the edges of the zones, that with a powerful enough quarterback, and I'll give Tua some credit, I'm not generally impressed with him a whole lot. He threw the ball better than I've ever seen him throw in week 1.
In the NFL. He was back to like almost pre-injury Tua from Alabama. Like he was impressive. Anticipation, he moved better than he ever has in the NFL. And getting the ball out on rhythm while he was on the move was something he struggled with his entire NFL career. It looked much better. Like that was impressive.
Yeah. I think it's what you do with those 2 safeties, Micah. I'd like to see them move them around. I'd like to see some drop into single high with a robber. Do all the things that we've seen Tyron do, in particular, when he was able to disguise where he was going and play some cover 4 and mix it up. You got to keep them on their toes, because it's not Tua that I'm worried about. It's that Tyreek can recognize tendencies, and he still knows a few players on this roster. So I would be a little concerned about that. Yeah. And Micah, you were on a roll, I guess, brother.
On a roll.
Is USC Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, a draft steal in the next draft? Not if he keeps playing the way he's playing. He ain't going to be a steal.
Yeah, no. He ain't playing very well. It's not going well for Brendan Rice in this draft. So maybe he stays at USC. Maybe he doesn't come out.
What is he? Is he a redshirt sophomore? I don't know. I haven't looked at his eligibility, so he probably still has some time. There's a lot going on in the Pac-12 for everybody who thought it was dead and buried. It ain't. But hey, enjoy it while you got it. But let's see how he performs. It's pretty easy, I think, to look solid from week to week if you have Caleb Williams, but let's see where he can push to.
Yeah.
Steve, what's a good run play and a good pass play that might work on 3rd and 1? So here's what you do. You put an extra offensive lineman in there with a fullback, and you run right at the B gap and just plow. You don't have to do anything special. Just everybody come off the ball and move, like this blob in front of Dan's face that he's about to squat. It's just going to move when you hit it.
Well, you see, I would agree with you, except this hasn't worked in recent memory. They've done it. They've tried it before. I want to see a draw play on 3rd and 1. I want to see a draw. Widen everybody out, run a draw. See how you can do it that way. But they've got the right plays. They on like their passing plays, their mesh concepts and stuff. They just had some insignificant problems. And I think you can use kadarius a little bit like they used Tyreek Hill in those short instances where you can have him jab step a corner and get out to an out route. You can do some of that with him. He's not the speed demon, but I do think that he's got good enough acceleration that you can do that. It's honestly, it just comes down to them wanting to do something like run the ball or it's just something different. I'm just tired of this Blake Bell go and snap the ball nonsense. Rip it out.
I like what you're thinking on that stab out real quick. It's the reverse of a pivot route or a whip route or whatever you guys want to call it. You can run those out of bunches. Those are really effective. But honestly, I would just take the slants and the sluggos. If they're going to jump the route on a slant, then just turn it up and you'll hit it for a big gain, or just run that every damn play, every single time.
Just do it.
Makes you miss Sammy Watkins.
They want to get cute.
Yeah, well,
Tyler, I always miss prime Sammy. I always miss him.
Tyler, hope you're doing well. Veach thanked the Cass brothers multiple times in his statement. Seemed like he was trying to help them save face. I think there's any chance that Jones entertains a switch of representation. We definitely do. We've been talking about it for a long time. Are you even more sold on it? Do you think it's happening right now?
I'm not entirely sold on it yet, but this is honestly, it's a big loss. There's no way around this. You leave $70 million guaranteed on the table. That's one of the worst representation jobs in recent history. It's not a good look. It's not.
It is no. It's honestly not performing your role. That's the bottom line. Do you think the big issue for the Chiefs wide receivers without Kelsey is how much zone the Lions were able to play, and will that make a difference versus the Jacksonville Jaguars? Not necessarily that they're playing zone, although I think that's what kind of shook it. It's that they didn't know how to attack it. They don't have the experience and the feel for attacking it. And I think that in particular with James and just ran straight out of my brain.
Rice.
But the other, no,
Tony.
I liked what Rice did against zone. Tony.
Skye.
Tony and Skye in particular, it just felt like what their connection with Patrick was when reading those zones and where that pressure was coming from. It just didn't feel like they were on the same page. And that's an experience thing, I think.
A lot of inconsistencies. There's a tweet floating around out there. I'm going to talk about it in my video, but some people are blaming Mahomes for it, and I completely disagree. He's throwing. It's the one where he hitches to Skye Moore, okay? And Skye doesn't stop in the zone. He keeps running through. That's on Skye, in my opinion. He's not stopping. That's something you need to see and develop into and see that, okay, I'm in this gigantic hole. Okay. I'm just going to stop here.
Be happy.
I'm going to stop because the Chiefs have so much wiggle room in their route concepts to be able to read the defense and see that, okay, I should stop here. That's something that he didn't do. And then Mahomes hitches and people are like, well, if he just rips it in there, it's going to be a completion. Well, there's a lot more that goes into it than just grip it and rip it.
True. I agree with you. Whiskey, thank you, sir. Nice to see you. Only way I think KC lost is if they had to include a no tag. I personally agree with you. Hopefully KC got him back on in week 2 at same money, more cap, and he gets a chance for more money. And good for him. The cap's going to be the key because depending on what that structure is, that determines whether you just have enough space to manage your roster the rest of the season, or you can actually go add someone. That's going to be the different levels.
Update from the game. Aaron Rodgers is hurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. He got sacked by Leonard Floyd, and it looks like his ankle rolled up underneath the tackle, and he got taken off.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jets fans, or anyone who's a particular Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. We don't want injuries, that kind of stuff. No. That's not what we are about here. So hopefully that Aaron is not seriously hurt, and he can continue playing this season.
And, for those of you that were banking on the Jets, which I pretty much was, all of our, to quote a Rounders, a poker movie, all of our hopes dashed, they come falling down and is all gone now. I just watched that movie last night, and I love to massacre a Russian accent. For any of you who speak Russian and are totally appalled, my apologies, but I enjoy doing that. Sorry. Why did the Chiefs run almost exclusively off tackle on Thursday when the strength of the O-line is on the interior? It's because of the strength of the defensive line was on the interior as well. And I don't think as good as Hutchinson is at generating pass rush and being adaptable, I don't think he's great against the run. So I probably would have done that as well.
I think he was pretty good against Jawan Taylor in the run. That
was that night, but going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would have game planned the same way. Would you have done something different?
I would have mixed in some delays, some draws. They don't use them. When you're a team that passes the ball as effectively as the Chiefs do, and you don't run delays and draws, honestly, what are we doing? Why can't you use that to your advantage when the teams want to get after the quarterback? Use that to your advantage. They do it in the screen game every now and then, but use it in the run game a little bit more too. And it's just my opinion.
No, I see where you're coming from. I think honestly, I think it's the lack of vision of the two backs that are in there the most that concerns Reed. But maybe you just got to let that go. And maybe you just got to go hit somebody.
They don't seem to care so much when they're running outside zone with Clyde all the time. They don't seem to care.
I hear you. How do our receivers bounce back? And what does their practice look like? Honestly, their practice doesn't change. I hope that they are in the jugs machine a lot more and they're concentrating a little bit more. Andy's not going to switch it up on them. It's not like a punishment kind of thing. It's not that he's going to overthink it. Andy's going to get them back in the swing, and Andy's number one thing is confidence. So I think that's where he'll practice it.
And that should be a huge thing for anybody thinking that Kadarius is not going to be involved on Sunday. He's going to be involved.
Yeah.
He's going to be involved.
He's probably going to be more involved this week than he was planned to be last week.
Kadarius might have 100 yards this coming week. Like we're talking, he might see a heavy volume of targets and catches.
I might go pick him up in fantasy on purpose.
Like people are dropping him all over the place. It might be a prime week to get him and just say, hey, Andy Reid's going back to him. We know how they do this.
Right? Yeah, it's not gone forever, that's for sure. Scott, hope you're well. Is change in representation a not likely to earn incentive under this deal? No, I think it is likely. If Chris is being advised by anyone else other than his actual agents, those people, people that hang out with athletes that maybe are part of their families or they're good friends, for life or whatever, they're there for the interest of the athlete. So they should be advising them, hey, these guys are not helping you as much as they think they are. And I would expect some change. But what happened, Dan?
Cart is coming out for Aaron Rodgers. They're taking him out on a cart, out of the blue tent on a cart.
Oh, that is not a way you want to see a career end. That sucks. And you guys can dislike Aaron Rodgers if you do. I understand.
Yeah,
I get the wrong way, but that's not what you want to see.
No,
not for a Hall of Fame career like that. Because let's be real, if that's a significant injury, I don't think he's going to play again at that point.
He said he had 2 years left. Why waste a whole year on rehab? I don't know.
Agreed.
I don't know. Obviously, no room to speculate, but just hopefully it's not as serious as they might think it is right now.
I hope not. Dylan, Chiefs lucked out with the Chargers and Bengals losing in week 1. I mean, lucked out. Those other teams beat them too, so it's good. Chiefs have a hard schedule, but CJ makes those next weeks look better. How does the D-line compare against Jacksonville's O-line? I haven't watched Jacksonville's O-line yet. I just saw highlights of their performance. No? Okay, so
it's not good.
Immediately, if he can even be himself for 12 reps, Chiefs have an advantage there. I was really happy with what the young guys did.
They had 1+ run against the Colts. Like, I mean, not like plus, but like ETN had 1 run that got him, a 21-yard rushing touchdown. Other than that, it was like 44 yards on 15 carries. And then Bigsby had like 8 or 9 carries and only 19 yards and a touchdown. Like, it wasn't very good for what they are. So Avery's going to say goodnight to everybody right now because she's going to go into her room. So can you say goodnight?
Good night.
Say go Chiefs.
Night.
Go Chiefs.
There we go. All right, sweetie. I'll meet you in your room after I'm done, okay?
That's awesome. Well done. Oh, my. That was good, dude. Okay, let me see. I was just pulling up the stats on the Jets there. Also, thanks for the best Chiefs content and short of Patty playing. Appreciate you, Dylan, and thank you for being with us. We appreciate you guys. Brett, general cap question. How do void years affect the team? Burrow's contract had 3 void years. Hurts has 4. And how does it affect the team in those years? And why does the Chiefs not do it? It's because it parks money in the cap in those years. And so it hurts you down the line. It's basically betting that the cap is going to give you relief by going up. That's why the Chiefs avoid it like the plague. Now, Howie, I will give him credit. He has been able to use them with a special clause that I cannot recall the language of right now in order to defer some of that deferred money. They can then accelerate it back forward by changing it to bonus as well. How it affects each of them in particular, I do not know specifically on those 2 contracts. But that is a great question. I'll try to take that to Chris Clark, who's our capologist here in Chiefs Kingdom, and see what he has about that. But really, it's about trying to make sure that you're paying and you're using minimum 80% of the cap space on up to all of it every year. You're not putting yourself in a hole later or limiting what you're able to do. Avery,
I'm just going to go put her in her room real quick. Okay, I'll pop right out. I'll pop right back in.
Rock on. And then we'll both click the button. And that's what happens. This is nice because Dan and I can both run the stream, but sometimes we overclick each other. It's the way it happens. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate you. Curtis, thank you, bud. So Dr. Chow said that Kelsey had a deep bone bruise and that those don't heal in days. You're absolutely right. They do not. They heal in weeks. Your thoughts on the frame of recovery for a deep bone bruise? So my daughter actually just got diagnosed with one of these as she had high ankle sprain and bad injury in her sport. And as an adolescent who generally heals faster than adults do, they're talking 6 to 8 weeks for a deep bone bruise. And I've seen it all over the place. I've seen a couple that weren't fractures, but they bled, like we've heard about Travis's, that were, on the shorter end of that, maybe 6-ish weeks. I've also seen some that were originally thought was just a bruise, ended up having a microfracture underneath it. That's also something we've heard about Travis, that ended up going months and months. So it's a very wide gap. Now, Dr. Chow's solid. He's worked in the league. There are a number of other doctors and physical therapists that I know around the league that do believe that it is about the pain tolerance, that unless it's directly under the condyle. And that's so your leg comes down, it's got 2 notches, right? And that sits on the tibial plateau. Think of your tibia as the weight-bearing bone of your lower leg. It has a plateau here that the 2 condyles kind of sit in. And by making that connection, if you were to crack this plateau, the tibial plateau, that's what Jay Glazer reported they were concerned about. That not only will bruise the surface of the tibia, but it can crack down through. And that becomes a load-bearing problem. It becomes a chronic problem. It can become a career ender. And so that's the real concern. I would say take it easy with a bone bruise, but most of the time physicians are going to tell you it's about pain tolerance. So whether or not they pulled as much blood as is rumored out of there, or whether they were very concerned that it was a fracture at first, bottom line is if Travis Kelce is back and dealing with it pain management wise, then it's a pretty good bet that he's going to be okay. Because if you did have a tibial plateau fracture, there's no way you're playing in a stance and coming off the ball. So I think that's pretty easy to tell in terms of what he can and cannot handle. Even the guys with the best pain tolerance, that's going to put you at a severe disadvantage. And that's something you can tell right away. Now, that's just I have not gone to medical school, so not a professional opinion in terms of a physician, just my experience as an exercise physiologist. So take it with a grain of salt. Pie dessert. Usually, we think of offenses having an advantage earlier in the season. Has the pendulum swung towards the defense having the advantage? I don't think so as a whole, but you bring up a good point, because the Chiefs offense in particular is very timing-based, is very read-based, is very independent, so that your quarterback, your receivers, your linemen have to see the same thing and arrive at the same decision on their own. And that complexity is sometimes challenging, particularly in the beginning of the season. So I think in this case, in this season, I do think that the defense probably has a bit of an advantage, but I don't know if that's true across the league. So, Dan, I don't know if you heard the question or if you have a thought on.
I see the question. No, I think that Spags specifically, his defense specifically, does this on purpose. It's a trial and error process. They figure out what does and what doesn't work throughout the first half of the season or whenever the bye is. And then after the bye, they come in and they're the best versions of themselves. They've been that every single year that he's been the defensive coordinator.
I can't argue with that. Not at all. Tyler, thank you. Thoughts on Jay Reed's tackling? It seemed that he was lost the progress he made after the Bengals game last season. It wasn't the cleanest, that's for sure. Yeah. I don't think that I would say that he lost his progress until we see it recur. He also made a big play at the end of the game too, in batting that ball. So a little give and take there would be my thought. Do you feel different?
Just some angle. I saw some angle problems. Like that was, and again, getting back up to speed after the preseason is tough sometimes, and it can take a little bit. So I think he was a little rusty earlier, and then I think he got better as the game went along.
Oh, thank you, Casey. Trap Vegas set with Rodgers' fake injury. Okay, fake injuries are fun. I don't know what they buy you, but hey, you never know what's going to happen. Tony NFL, and looks like a mysterious name, by the way. This may be the worst agent representation ever. Turned down $55 million guaranteed for a chance at a similar contract next year. Not great, considering he'd be a year older and risking injury. Not only risking injury, if he were to have a career ender right now, it's over. No guarantee, no nothing.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the big thing. But even so, if he doesn't hit his incentives, if he doesn't have a career year, and there are a number of things that can derail that, like not being in shape in any way, shape, or form for an NFL season, like there are a lot of negatives here. And I agree with you. I think he should be looking for new reps. The only thing that I cringe about as somebody who wants the Chiefs to continue to succeed is the only place that he goes after his friends in this league have done their talking is Drew Rosenhaus. And that makes life hard for Brett Veach.
Yeah. As soon as you went there, I'm like, I know exactly where he's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an upside for Brett. But let's be real. Brett's dealt with Drew Rosenhaus quite a bit. So
yeah,
maybe it's not as much a disadvantage as we would think. Sean, do you see Tony being a focus next game, or do you see him move on to Rice and Ross? What do you got, Dan?
So I think Tony's going to get heavily involved early. I think that they're going to use him on jet sweeps, and they're going to get the ball in his hands quickly to get his confidence in. And if we see that's not there, that's going to be a problem. Like they're going to have a problem with that. If he's not mentally in the game from the check, the fact that he was already on Instagram trolling the Giants last night leaves me a little concerned about his mental state. With that in consideration, that he cares more about the fact that the Giants got their asses kicked by the Cowboys defense than preparing, I guess. I don't know. He got off of Twitter, still on Instagram, and then he said he's not going back to Instagram after that post. So hopefully that's it. But we'll see. These guys like their social media stuff quite a bit. So again,
there's a call in there from Mike Borgani who said, "Stop tweeting on anything. Put down the phone."
Like I saw some tweets about I wish he would drop his phone, like some things like that. Like that's
right.
Yeah, I understand that after you do that after the game you had. So
yeah, that's not good. Oh, Sean, now that the Belldozer package has failed 5 out of 6 times, will Andy retire it? No. Andy's stubborn. We would love for him to retire that. Honestly, the best thing they can do now is leave it the way it was there and have him line up under the guard and just snap it to Patrick and let Patrick do his thing. The only other thing that I would venture is I would like to see Blaine Gabbert come in for that, make him think that you're sneaking it and have him drop back and just actually complete a pass. That might be fun.
Where is it? Where is it?
Uh-oh.
There's a question.
Is there?
Someone asked it. Where did it go? I don't know. I lost it. I saw it not too long ago, but somebody literally commented the same thing.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
I like the concept of it anyway. What is our return on investment in draft picks for developing players and letting them walk to be a productive player on another team? Is this what the Patriot way really was? Develop and never overpay. I mean, that was a portion of it. They also overpaid and brought in a lot of veterans because they didn't have to train them up and they were able to just plug them back in. Ty Laws, like the whole rotation there was just to not have to train guys up. But the return on investment, it's basically comp picks if you're going to let guys walk, or you get to this point and you trade them off. So they got a big return in Tyreek Hill. They haven't gotten anything for Chris, and they lost guys like Nunez Roaches, like the other Miami defensive tackle that I can't remember right off my
Wilkins?
Top of my head. No, the one that came from Kansas City.
Oh, what, from Kansas City to
Agba.
Miami?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Agba, defensive end.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, there's no defensive tackles that did. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, my fault. Oh, sorry. Hit the wrong button there.
Found
so,
it.
like it's kind of a mixed bag. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I found it. Right there, Derek.
Okay.
Right there.
Derek, good job. I like it.
Appreciate it.
I like it. Oh. And just to rephrase my earlier opinion, when I said line up with a fullback, I meant actually run the ball with him, not just like put it right there in the dive and the dive and the dive. And then Mike Burton is so happy to not have to run that dive every 5 seconds in Denver. Not that he's going to have any help there either, but I would have liked to have seen it. Mike R, welcome to the memberships. Hope you're set. Thundarius actually has a good idea here. I tried that, but I wasn't able to protect it enough to keep it to the folks. So I'm looking for another option. If you have another thought, let me know and hit me up an email. I would appreciate it. Info, should this not be a fireable offense by the agents? Seems like a guy at 30 not coming off of his best year in the same offer in case he may not have had be there for next year. You're preaching to the choir, man.
Look, man, we can only say so much about what the agents did and not getting him the money that he deserves. So we'll wait and see. That's all we can do right now. We're just gonna have to wait. Chris,
call somebody. KL, thank you for the support, brother. Appreciate you. Any notes on the CBs sneaking down? He did. He had the defensive equivalent of Kadarius Toney's night. Missed a number of tackles, allowed leverage when he didn't have to, just looked like a guy who hadn't practiced in 6 months, So it makes sense because remember, he was out most of OTAs as well. So he didn't even get that work in. But yeah, I think he'll round into shape. I haven't heard anything about him being unhealthy today. We'll see what we find out tomorrow. If he has to miss practice this week, I'm going to start to get very concerned.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you, man. It's tough to be in a position where you're coming into the season with injuries. Ask Trent McDuffie last year. Like, he came off of, he was out for 6 weeks. Like, these corners specifically, they need to get going. They need to get their feet going, and they need to get their speed up to par to go up against these wide receivers. It's not easy. And when you're consistently asked to, especially play the slot a ton, it's not easy. These guys are quick, they're fast, and if you're off by a step, they're gone. Like that's just how it works. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he's good to go.
Knock on wood. KL, thank you, sir. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it. Jones got his work cut out for him for Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt and Josh Allen each had 3 sacks ahead of him. Would anyone give us 2 firsts if the non-exclusive tag for Jones? Somebody might be tempted, but I really don't think so.
No. You're not getting, the only way you're getting 2 firsts is if he's 3 years younger.
Exactly. And let's be
you
real.
You guys got a time machine?
Yeah. Hey, I'd like some, please. I'll take a decade, thanks. And let's be real. That may not be what the Chiefs want.
Yeah.
They might
we don't know.
want him to just play on the tag next year. It'll be cheaper than what he's asking for. And quite frankly, they don't want to be stuck holding the cards with a 32 or a 33-year-old tackle that falls off the cliff. That's my
Isn't it good? It's going to be 30 million, 31 for the tag next year still, isn't it now? Because he's coming back. It's going to be 30, 31.
Well, that's the big question, because according to different calculations, if Chris and I were right, we had it at 3.78. It drops him under that threshold. And so he would lose about 8.5 million on that tag. But they could always change that calculation.
Yeah, we'll see. Like, I think that if there's a guarantee that he can't get tagged, it's because of that. Because it dropped down too much, and he was like, I'm not doing that. Or he's just like, I just wanted to get paid more this year. And maybe that was the whole problem for the whole thing. And they just said, fine, we'll just do this now. I don't know. Chris.
I mean, honestly, if that's the way it works.
You can DM me on Twitter and let me know. All right.
My number is 816. Oh, wait. But Joseph, I think that may be what they're looking for in trying to have some negotiating room. If they did give him a no tag clause, then he's pretty much, I think they had to drop him down into the 8 million range as a base salary this year just to get operating capital. And then incentives would then raise that back up. But to get a guy at 30 years old who's the best at his position in this league at 8 mil for this year, even if they had to give up the tag clause, they still won. It's not that close. So we'll see. We'll know the
whole thing about this. Yeah, for me, it's just that they caved to him. Like they caved to the Chiefs. Like they did. They had to. Yeah. There was nothing they could do. Like,
and we'll know if there is an agent change for Chris Jones. We'll know exactly where that fault fell. Mr. Big Phil, hope you're doing well. I don't know how you guys feel about CH. But he doesn't have a big enough burst to be in the backfield. He has a good grind. I'll give him that. I thought he showed that the other night. Once he did get contacted, he moved the pile a little bit. But you're right. He's an explosive through the hole anymore.
I don't think it's even that anymore. It's that he's far too concerned about moving linebackers and reading. He's not trying to get downhill quickly. He doesn't do it. He just doesn't do it anymore. He did it in college. I watched it happen. And ever since he got into the NFL, when speed started hitting up and linebackers started coming downhill faster, he was like, I can't do that. So his big thing is trying to get into a hole. He's more worried about following the blocks and being able to do that. So that's why whenever the Chiefs run outside zone with him, everyone screenshots, they show the clip of the gigantic back hole that almost no running back can actually get to, because unless you're the elite athlete, so it's impossible to get there and then make the guy miss who's a free rusher that's going to be able to do it. So it's his last season. Everyone will stop complaining about it after this year. But I'll tell you what, Pop didn't look so great last night on Thursday either.
Yeah, I do think he hit that shoulder a little bit. So
yeah, he absolutely did.
I don't know where he's at on that. Like the injury report this week, I'm going to be really intrigued with early. I'm like Dan when he says that the receiving core this year is and should be the most elite group ever assembled in recent years. I agree. There's a ton of talent in there. Somebody's just got to want to be the number one, and somebody's got to want to go out and destroy the other team. And I just don't think they have that killer instinct right now.
Right now they don't. Like, I thought Skye would be that guy. Like, he seems like that guy. At least Tony should be that kind of guy, the way he treats social media and stuff. But on the field, he doesn't act that way. So no. There's something else here. If it's not going to be Skye, it's not going to be Tony. It's going to be Rashee Rice. I think it's going to
so.
be Rashee Rice.
And I know you guys are yelling at me because I keep making this comparison, but I swear, in the way that he moves over the middle, it looks like Juju to me. And if he can stay healthier than Juju, that's a guy that can probably move the ball better than Dwayne Bowe did if he can hook up with Mahomes.
Well, he's so much faster than Bowe ever was.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Jay Reed doesn't do it for me, Jeff said. Is there an out? He's only under contract for this year and next, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a 3-year contract that he signed, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
That's what I was under the impression as well. If he's not, if he's not playing well, I think he fits fine in the scheme, but he hasn't done anything extraordinary. I don't think he's elevated the level of the defense like Matthew did when he first got to Kansas City. He hasn't done that. So, yeah, sure.
I agree. I'm going to look up his contract here while Dan answered Tyler's question, though. Thank you, Jeff.
What up, Tyler? Thank you for the question, man. Who are your top 3 surprises from Thursday in a positive light? Watching back, Tershawn Wharton looked good for a guy who hadn't played very much and was hurt, and he came in. He looked strong against a couple of not just like double teams, but direct contacts with the center for the Detroit Lions offensive line. He looked like he held up well. He was a good surprise for me. I don't know if I have any on the offense for good surprises. That doesn't leave much to be. Actually, I lied. Justin Ross was a good surprise in the limited snaps that he got. He looked comfortable, which is weird because a lot of the other receivers did not look comfortable. They had this play where they used him and MVS on a play action pass where they both bended it to the inside and then to the outside, and they were both wide open. You guys didn't see my Twitter. I tweeted it out. They were both wide open, but offensive linemen missed their block. And there was a guy right in Patrick Mahomes' face. Right in his face. And he couldn't throw the ball down the field. But I think Ross looked comfortable. And then the last guy, I think on defense, Trent McDuffie. I mean, I didn't expect him to play elite. He was elite. He was elite. He was fantastic. Involved in the run game. Oh my gosh, he was everywhere on Thursday night. He was fantastic.
Yeah, I like it. Just so I can show you guys, because that question from Jeff was legit. But I have it in the wrong window. Hold on a second. Let me bring that to you here. Okay, so when you're looking at Jay Reed's contract, he is under contract for 24, but you have an out before that, which would be a cap savings. I'm sorry. No, that would be over here. It'd be a post-release dead cap at 3.5 or in a savings of 20.7 that you would get back. I don't anticipate them using that. I think he's playing solidly enough unless he goes downhill a lot.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I'm more excited about what Brian Cook is doing than I am frustrated with what Justin Reed is doing. Does that track for you, Dan?
Yeah. Brian Cook doesn't look very experienced, but second year player, not surprising. They moved off of Juan Thornhill for Brian Cook. And right now, that doesn't necessarily make me very comfortable. Let's just say that.
I feel like he's doing just fine. He's going to get there. Like you said, second-year player. Any idea how much cheaper Reader or Wilkins will be than Jones? I know they aren't as good, but both of them could be the same price. I'm not sure about Reader. I think Wilkins will probably be the guy that pushes some salary up into the mid to high teens in terms of per year. I don't think he gets close to like 2022 though. Do you, Dan?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all.
Okay, I think we're on the same page then. I do like the way he plays though, and he does bring some oomph to it, which I like. We're going to speed through here and finish up for the hour so we can all go watch the Zach Wilson show. It is playing.
It looks
out
like Aaron Rodgers' night
TV.
is out. It's done.
Yeah, you guys may have seen the one pass he throws this year.
And Josh Allen threw a pick on the very next drive, like just launched it downfield and threw an interception.
Oh, good Lord. Kudos to Zach Wilson, 4 for 5 for 39 yards.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot
that's all
worse.
that matters.
Let's be real.
Let's
be real. But Terry, to answer your question about the Jets, is there any way they can get Garrett Wilson now? No, they are not giving up Garrett Wilson ever. That guy's going to die a Jet is my thought. And more power to him. I like the way he plays. He was my number one wide receiver in that class. So I'm very happy to see him doing well. Really off topic, but thoughts on Aaron Rodgers' injury, Bills versus Jets. I mean, it's just sad, honestly. That's where I'm at.
It's tough. It's tough. Again, you don't want to see that kind of stuff happen. Like I would have much rather seen Aaron Rodgers play and just be bad. Just be bad this year because you're turning 40, and then that's kind of it. But it's tough. It's a tough situation. And Breece Hall just took a 70-yard run.
Oh, did he really?
It's not to the house because the reception left him on like the 5-yard line. But he doesn't have that. He should have taken that to the house and he'd not been coming off an injury.
That'd be great. Now, if Dalvin could punch it in or catch it, that'd be great for my fantasy outlook. Thank you.
Good. He looks bad.
Does he look bad? Dang.
He looks. I saw him get tackled in the backfield where he could have made a guy miss, and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it.
I was out of options in that particular league. So hey, hey, what's up at the airport in Colombia heading to Brazil? We'll have a great time, Oscar. Making sure that I'm in tune with you. But would you guys? What do you guys see next after the Chris Jones signing?
We got to know the details first, right? Like we don't even know what cap relief is there.
I don't know that there is much. Like my guess is they probably 4, 6. They need that just to in case there's injuries and they have to sign somebody off the street. If they get to like 8+, then they might be able to start talking to Carlos. Is my thought.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That'd probably be my next move. Cal, has Mahomes lost confidence in the wide receiver, or when will he? If this goes on for a month, he'll start to lose faith in some guys, and you'll see MVS and Justin Watson getting a lot of targets.
I still think they should have been involving MVS a little bit more on Thursday. He looked good. He looked pretty good. Yeah. And he knew what he was doing. And I'm going to highlight to you guys why that was on Wednesday. And I don't think that he's going to lose confidence in his guys because Mahomes doesn't do that. He kept going after, kept going at Tony in that game, even though he was dropping the ball. He's that kind of person. He has faith. And I think that showed he has faith in his guys to get something done.
Makes sense. I like to see it, and I wouldn't mind seeing the big body guys, including Ross. Work the slants and work the things over the middle where you need that body armor. I'm ready for it. Hey guys, great show as always. Thank you, Ashley. Nice to see you here. 2 things, Dan. What about Bear Alexander? And for short yardage play, have Blaine Gabbert under center. Okay, is this the one you were talking about?
No, this is a different one. This is a completely different one.
Put him behind and over center and PM behind Taylor, and then Bell pitch to PM or the running back. You could do that cross action thing where then Patrick actually throws it to someone.
Yeah.
Don't run Patrick. I don't want Patrick scrambling on purpose. If he has to break a pocket, okay, but I'm not comfortable with anything else.
I'm trying to figure out what the Bear Alexander thing is.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not quite sure what you're asking for about that. But looks like Ryan's going to be looking it up for me. But yeah, honestly, if they get a little creativity. Oh, I don't know. I don't know who he is. I haven't watched a ton of USC this year because I know what Caleb Williams is. So that's kind of been my thing. I'm looking at some other quarterbacks and other players right now. So we'll get to it. I'll let you know whenever I do end up looking at some USC tape. But I'm totally okay with them bringing 2 quarterbacks on the field for a 3rd and short. If you have to figure out cheap ways to get first downs on 3rd and 1, do it. If it works, I'm not going to say anything about it. Yeah. Make them stop something weird. So maybe you can bring Blake Bell out there or have Blake Bell throw a pass, maybe. Something weird. Just if they think he's going to run the ball the whole time, I'm just tired. I'm just tired.
Ashley, thank you for that
watching him on the field on 3rd and 1. Every time Blake Bell goes on the field in 3rd one, I'm just like, well, they're not getting it. Like I just know.
It's over.
I just know.
And the defense is saying the same thing. I guarantee it.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, Ashley. I should have mentioned. I thought Bear Alexander was at South Carolina, so it's my fault. Should have been able to pick that up faster. Thank you for your comment, Tyler. Danny Shelton fullback dive. It's the only solution. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll try it.
Don't care. Now that Chris Jones is back, Chris, line up back there. You go run the ball.
He wants to throw the ball. You know he wants to.
I know he does. I'm just Travis, QB sneak it. You know how to do this. Or what they need to do is have Blake Bell sit in a room for 5 days watching how the Philadelphia Eagles run quarterback sneak. 5 days.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. You still gotta get the A gaps covered. I'm just saying. Do you lost us the game or was a total team blunder? Thank you, Phil. What do you got, Dan?
Okay, so I mean, multiple things are true here. I do think that the team itself, I think Andy Reid took it on the chin. He made him, he said he was responsible for a lot of what happened, and I agree. Him not changing his game plan was a problem. And the Lions said, okay, we're going to change our game plan. And guess what? It kind of threw things off. If Kadarius Toney catches one pass, they win the game. He catches one pass, they win. So, I mean, it does. It's awful. He was wide open. Andy redeemed himself, too, on that last possession. He's wide open for a huge gain, And he just drops it because, one, it was a little bit behind him, but you should be able to catch that football. There's no one around you. Not even a footstep was heard, except in his head.
I have visions of Christmas time. I don't know where you pulled that from, but that was good. By the way, folks, the Bills defense has held, and they did not get around there and get into the end zone yet, the Jets offense. So just find that intriguing. Thought I'd mention it. Brett, speaking of fullbacks, what's Tony Richardson up to? Growing older like the rest of us, brother.
What about our old friend?
Third and one.
What about our friend Jason Dunn? Hey, Jason, right? I know you're still in good shape. I know you can do it. I know you can do it.
I'll take it at this point. Fridge Perry's still around, right? Let's do that. If Rodgers is down now for the season, it changes the AFC landscape, except for the Broncos and Raiders. Yeah, they probably still can't beat them anyway. But that's a significant point. The Dolphins look very good. The Bills are struggling against a Rodgers-less Jets team here.
They're really good defense. They're a really good defense.
Yeah, that's fair. But still, you'd expect more from their offense, is my point.
Agreed.
But yeah, it definitely changes. It's I don't know. It's not as much of a slugfest in the AFC East without Aaron Rodgers in there.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Did Pop get hurt? Why the hell was CH in the game? It's because they don't want to drag him, grind him up. That's why CH was in the game first. But yes, he did hit that shoulder again. And I do think it bothered him a bit. I don't think obviously it was enough to take him out, but I'm concerned about it a little bit.
A little. I think that you could see kind of one of his runs where he went into out of bounds. He looked like he was a little either hurt, limping around, or something's happened, and that's why they should have kept. I thought that's why they should have kept P Ryan on the roster. Honestly, I felt like that with the injuries sustained, 4 guys on the roster is something that you wanted to do when you clearly wanted to not use as much Jerick McKinnon as you did last year. Thought that was very apparent.
Yeah. And I think there's still time to do that. Did P Ryan sign, or I thought he was on the practice squad?
He's on the practice squad, but he's not up. It's just something to say. Like,
yeah, they can still elevate him. I hope that they do, because I agree with you. I'd rather the young body take the pounding.
Josh Allen does not look good. He just threw something. He threw it directly to a Jets defender, and who dropped it directly to him. He looked right at him too.
And it's all crumbling apart in old Buffalo. Dang. John, do you think the Chiefs draft another RB next season? On day 3, yeah, probably. I think they just keep taking stabs at it until they get a 1-2 punch with Pacheco they'd like.
Yeah, I think you might see a little bit more urgency next year, just a tiny bit. There was no guarantee that Jerick McKinnon was signing again. I mean, I think that they felt he was going to, but he still was not a part of the team until later. He's getting older. There is not going to be Clyde unless something crazy happens and they're like, hey, we still want to run outside zone with you for the next 3 years. Just something weird like that, which I wouldn't rule it out because the Chiefs are the Chiefs, but they got to find some guys that are not just undrafted guys. I'll be very honest with you. You need to find some proven talent to inject into this offense, because as much as Pacheco has added to it, there are still some holes to his game that more talented running backs can help this offense with.
Well, and let's be real, like they're still trying to find that home run hitter to replace Jamal, and they haven't found it. And they're not drafting guys like that. James Cook is running. It's probably the best piece of the Bills' offense tonight. They had an opportunity to draft him too. Love him out of Georgia, but they're not prioritizing that right now. And hopefully they can get something that fills in. I think their stab at Generic Prince was worth it, but it didn't work out.
I think they're kind of punching themselves because they took Clyde in the first round, didn't work out. So they said, all right, 7th round and later from now on out. Like that's an overcorrection that you don't need.
Right. A 5th round running back can certainly work out and not hurt you in any way. So cross our fingers. Whiskey, thank you, sir. We know Reed's playbook is tough on rookies. Can Ross, as a second-year guy, and Rice as a bigger part than Moore, be a bigger part than Moore was last year? That remains to be seen. Kudos. And I actually pulled a play to give you guys a little bonus clip. And it wasn't like the big flashy play for Rasheed, but I really liked what he did in that particular play. And I think it shows that he's farther along. Ross, I'm not sure about yet. He had a lot of connections, not necessarily with Patrick in the preseason. So let's see what he gets next. I think the fact that he caught his only target in game 1 means he deserves 3 or 4 targets. And let's see how he does with that. So let's see if we can grow it, is the approach I would take.
Yeah, I think they were a little uncomfortable with putting him out there a ton. And by his usage, that would bear out the numbers. Like they didn't feel like he was going to be in the right spot all the time. So they had a package for him specifically where he ran like a curl and some deep routes. They don't feel comfortable enough on everything else, at least right now, by judging the way they used him, to say, we'll trot you out there a lot and we'll see how you do. That there's more routes that they want him to work on, which, that was kind of my hesitation with it in the first place. So I'm just glad that he looks comfortable, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tactics, hope you're well, bud. Have the Bills lost much in paying Allen? I don't know. It seems like their issues seem to be bigger than that. Like Diggs is pissed off about like target share, right? Not necessarily getting paid.
I'm not entirely sure how he could be pissed off about target share when he's like the only guy that does anything on that team and he gets a lot of targets.
Yet that seems to be his complaint, right?
I don't know. He came out and said that he wasn't mad about anything, but there's a lot of I don't know if I believe that there's no smoke at all about nothing. Like he seems to think that everything's fine. That's the way he plays. But enough stuff gets brought up in the offseason. There's something going on. I don't know what it is, but there's something there.
I just hope that the guy that reaps the benefits is Dalton Kincaid. That's what I'm looking for. I like the concept of the double tights, and I think it might help Josh save him from himself. We'll see. Thanks, Tactics. Mikey, we're going to wrap up here in just a minute, folks. Last call for Super Chats, and we'll get you to Monday Night Football. I'm thinking that this team is going to come back with a vengeance this week. What do you guys think? And keep up the solid work. Thank you, Mikey. What do you predict? What do you think the temperature is with Chris back?
I mean, not just Chris, but I expect Travis Kelce to play this week too. We're talking about an energy injection into this team, something that looked like they didn't have last week, at least on offense. The defense came in honestly ready to prove Chris wrong. I think that helped to an extent. They did that, and now he's back. I think that'll give them some oomph, saying we played well last week. Now we're adding our best player. Like that's something that will give the defense something to work towards, and the offense, they got something to prove. I'm hoping that these young guys come out this week and are saying we dropped the ball last week and we need to correct that mistake.
Agreed. What do you think about Brett here?
All right. Heard a lot about Juwan getting that early start Thursday. Nothing more than Lane Johnson did last year. And does the league do anything? Should we expect something different? So the way that I have watched this specifically is that obviously there's nothing wrong with him getting off the snap. He times it perfectly. He lines up bad. It's illegal what he's doing. I'll tell you that right now. It's illegal. But like we talked about on Thursday night, we talked about this. It is the team that you're playing and the ref's job to tell the tackle that he's doing something wrong, to give them a warning. It is their job, okay?
Yep.
That is what they do. And in the game, no one said anything except for the people announcing the football game. A little fishy to me, to be very honest with you. All they talked about all game was Juwan Taylor lining up wrong and getting off the snap. Nobody said boo about Lane Johnson all last year. No one has said anything about all the tackles that are lining up a little bit deep, getting off the snap a little bit faster this week. Nothing's been made about Juwan Taylor.
Trent Williams will do it from time to time. Orlando Brown certainly did it.
Little fishy. It's a little fishy, my opinion. But
I like it.
Nothing. The only thing we should expect is Juwan Taylor to get a warning in Jacksonville against his former team. I would expect nothing less. Honestly, he'll get a warning.
I'm more concerned about the twitchy foot. I don't give
get
stuff away
too.
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's too much going on. I need to settle it down one way or the other. Thank you, Brett. Caroline, appreciate you. Yeah, I've seen BB watching the film last year a little bit. More of a power player, in my opinion. I don't know that he moves as great as I want him to, but that was last season. This is going to be his year to shine. I think Deuce Vaughn probably took a little pressure off of the offensive line, to tell you the truth. So let's see what he does when he has to play this year. I don't know who the back is. I can't remember his name, but he's not Neil. I'm just going to say it, Rock Chalk. So let's get happy about some of these things. Thank you, Caroline. Jarrell, how long, in terms of games, do you give Skye before we have to go another direction? It depends what
Skye's
you need
getting
him to
another
do.
year. He's getting another year. But with Richie, I'll be honest with you guys. Richie looked uncomfortable too.
I think
that play where kadarius dropped the football, where they're running mesh, I've looked at the play. I've actually found the concept. Okay. So people yelling at me on Twitter that I don't know what I'm talking about. Guess what? I found the read tree concept. I'm going to show you guys on Wednesday why it all went wrong. Okay. I'm going to show you.
You know, and that just gave me an idea. You guys will get an extra clip from something we said the other night, just so you know. Scuba Steve, welcome back. Appreciate you in the memberships. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here. If you want to be a member, you want to see my notes from the games, if you want to see our rants, you want to see the stuff that is not safe for work, we can get you into the memberships. You just got to join at the rookie level or above. The join button's under Dan over there. You can get signed up today. Richard had something to say that, Orlando didn't look so great. Yeah, Orlando looked like Orlando.
And Myles Garrett is kind of an animal. And I know that Ryan doesn't want to give him the credit he's deserved. For whatever reason, I don't know what Myles did to Ryan, but he's the best defensive end in football, and he's about to show
There's a guy named Bosa in San Francisco that would beg to differ with you, and I'm with him. I think he is. Okay.
I did a whole study. You guys go on NFL 33 with my guy JP Acosta. We did a whole study of the top 10 defensive ends. You can go see our notes, our talk about the whole thing. Nick Bosa's there. He's just not very technical. He's not.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, someday I'll tell you about me and Myles. It'll be fine. That beef ain't going anywhere. Caroline, thank you. We appreciate you very much. Thanks for being with us. And of course, Knicks fan got one in the very end just to make
thank you, Knicks fan.
Make me twitch a little bit. Thanks, buddy. With Rice already having his first TD, he has a good chance. Has to be good for his confidence. What do you think about trying to move him up from Colorado or Harrison Jr.? I'm worried for Travis Hunter. I'm just going to tell you. I love what he does. Moving up to D1 and playing another 118 snaps. Like, I worry for his health and his longevity in this season. Let's see if he survives.
He's a freshman too. Don't forget, he's a freshman.
He is, isn't
he?
Yeah,
the running back, right? That's what we're talking about. Travis
Hunter, the DB / wide receiver, not the running back.
Okay, never mind. The different guy. But yeah,
he's young though.
He is. I don't know if he's ready to come out this year. Yeah, please do, because I don't know.
I'm checking. But in the meantime, would you move Rice?
With Rice, why would I just don't know if I want to move guys. Just giving up on them, like to do stuff like that. I don't know. I think that the Chiefs need to understand what they're trying to do at wide receiver first. Right now, we're going to learn a lot about their development process. Tyreek Hill is one of the greatest athletes to ever play football. Ever. Okay? He fell in their lap in the 5th round because of some things that happened in his time in college. Okay? That stuff doesn't happen when you win Super Bowls, when you're picking in the 30s. Agreed. And so they've made some decisions to trade down, drafted McCole Hardman, Skye Moore, now Rashee Rice, all in the 2nd round. We're going to find out about their development process at wide receiver in the next year or two. We
certainly are. And for the record, Travis Hunter is a sophomore.
Okay,
so technically he would be 2 years removed from high school. And as far as moving up, I don't know that I would target him yet. Like I said, let's see how he survives the season. Harrison Jr. might be the best wide receiver prospect in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
He could be that good. So if you're talking about moving up to go get Marvin Harrison Jr., like I can get behind that a long way, more so than I can Brock Bowers. No offense. Bowers is as good a tight end as you're going to find, but the impact that he will have on a ball game, it's hard to project to the Kelsey level, and he would have to be that to come close to what I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to do.
So, yeah, and that's the thing. Brock Bowers is used very well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have him read defenses. I don't think they have him do a lot of the route tree. I'm going to find out. But they use a lot of athletic upside with him because he's such a freak and they can mismatch him. But what makes Travis special is his quarterback mind. Make no mistake about it. Travis Kelce sees the defense like a quarterback does. And that's what separates him from nearly every receiver in the NFL. That's why everyone's like, they have such a special connection. It's because he sees what Patrick sees. He sees it. These guys, they see the game the same way. I don't know if Brock Bowers is going to do that. So even if you're trading up to get him, yeah, you might be a great athlete. But there's lots of great athletes in the NFL, guys. Lots of them.
And Brandon, I'm very glad that you feel so heartedly for the Buckeyes. Stover was nowhere near a Kelsey replacement.
No.
Nowhere. And I like the kid. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, that's nah. Yeah, that's yeah. Just put the stream on and start talking next year's draft. Okay. Sorry, Jeremy. Appreciate it. We have divulged to this point. It's an hour and 15 in. We're gonna call it a night before we go too deep into this next draft class. Now we have Zach Wilson throwing interceptions, so I gotta go watch this ball game anyway. You guys have a great night. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate all the super chats. If you're one of us, great. If you're not, make sure you sub to the channel because we got stuff coming for you all week long. Dan's got his film. We have all kinds of stats. Seth's up tomorrow. You're going to have a bonus from me. You'll have a members video from me. We got it all for you, and then we'll be ready for this next game against the Jags. Don't miss the game plan on Friday. We got stuff every day of the week. Dan's going to go be a dad, and I'm going to go get some dinner. You guys have a great night. Enjoy that ball game, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.